Another edition of Marketing Unleashed. I'm Jeff C., and I'm here with the always incredible Elisa Meredith, who just flew in from wherever doing amazing things. So let me tell you what she's been doing. Actually, today, you guys need to go check this out because it's brand spanking new. Make sure you guys go to bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit. That's bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit. All lowercase, all smashed together. We've got a fabulous show for you guys today. Make sure, if you're watching us live, that you sprinkle the love across all the interwebs. If you know somebody who's like, hey, we're going to be talking about some really cool Pinterest stuff today, they need to hear it. Mention them down below. Even if they can't be here live, they can watch the replay. So excited that you guys are all here. We've actually got some of our friends I want to bring up there. Always good to see Brian Farrell in the house. He's slightly sticky but beautiful Barcelona. It is sticky here in East Texas as well, Brian. I've got two air conditioners.
They don't have air conditioning as much as we do over here.
Yeah,
I know they sure did when I went to Europe a couple years ago.
I'm sitting on a block of ice as we speak. So, and Trona says hello. I hope you are all good. We are all good. Trona, thank you for stopping by. You're amazing, and the amazing Rocky is here with us. Thank you, Rocky. He's another one of our longtime viewers.
Emoji looks just like him.
Yes, and Toronto, Canada. Hey, our guest is from Canada, eh? So this will be a fun show for Maria. So, Elisa, without further ado, why don't you introduce our guest, because this is exciting.
I will. I know. We will let you know who this person in the middle is. This is Gabby Pinkerton. Hello, Gabby. Welcome,
friends.
So, Gabby is going to have a ton of information for you today, and I love it when we can talk to someone who has been there, done that. Because Gabby, she started her wedding planning business in 2012. It was called Cause We Can Events, which I think is really cute. Probably has a story. And grew that business from an event planning business to a six-figure, off-the-grid, festival-style wedding planning standout while spending... Jeff, you want to guess how much she spent in marketing to get to that six-figure business?
A goose egg, zero. How about that?
Yay!
See, that was you kind of led me by the nose on that one, yeah.
Yeah, and the way she did that was with Pinterest. So
what?
we're gonna unpack that.
You know,
today.
It's funny. I always say, and I prefaced this with you guys. Oh, there's a cat.
There's always a cat. Oh, look, it's gonna fall and knock your background off. I know it, Elisa.
Hey, buddy. He hears me talking like this, and he has to come be part of the party.
Ah, very cool.
I love that. Gosh, I wish someone would start climbing along my shelf back here, but.
If you had a cat, they'd knock the books onto your head, though.
Yes,
that's true.
Just to be bad.
That's true.
So back to Gabby's story. So,
anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, any interruption with pets, I'm all about it. No, gosh, thanks for the great intro. And yes, this is true. We have a six-figure international destination wedding planning company. And, you know, blogging and Pinterest combined was kind of our ticket to success before even knowing what we were doing. And honestly, now that I have an idea of how Pinterest works, how to use it as a business tool, it's really just helped us kind of skyrocket and get, the attention of people outside of our little geographic area. And as a destination wedding planner, like that's really what we want to do, right? We want to try to target many people outside our own city. And Pinterest is probably the best way to do that, in my opinion.
So I have some questions, but I want to do some shout outs really quick. We've talked about international. We've got hi Anna from Germany. Very, very cool. And from Bucks County, PA. Hey, I'm all for that. That sounds like an East Texas town. But we've even got people from, Karen says hi from Jamaica. Very cool from all these people watching. Holly Winchester says hi from Nova Scotia. I can't even talk today.
Yeah.
I will get it eventually. But Jen says, yay. Love me some Gabby. So you've got fans.
Jen.
You've got fans.
Your fans.
She is a fellow Pinterest strategist, and we talk shop all the time. I love Jen.
Oh,
so
it's really fun to have friends like that. You can geek out with.
Lisa never shows up to any of my shows. But one of the just kidding. One of the questions I wanted, because I found this out and I did not know this, Gabby. But you told, you're in Nashville now. You moved there pretty recent, but you were on a boat in California. So one, how did you do this amazing business? And is the Wi-Fi that good on a boat? I mean, I don't know any of this stuff. This is amazing to me. How did you manage that?
Listen, I was saying before we started this call that I apologize if my Wi-Fi goes in and out. We live in the suburbs of Nashville, but for some reason we don't even have access to like super high speed Wi-Fi yet. It was the same on the boat. Granted, we were in a marina in California, but we did jimmy rig, like we MacGyvered a way to get Wi-Fi to the boat, and I was able to run my business. But yeah, my husband and I lived on a boat for 3 years. We had our 2 dogs on there with us, and we both ran our businesses. That was also our home office. And fun fact, if you ever watch Tiny House Hunters, there is an episode called Surf or Turf, and that is our episode. So you can check that out. It still runs, reruns show up sometimes on HGTV. So funny.
That is cool. My wife will go nuts about that. I'll have to say if I met somebody from one of her shows. It's amazing.
That's so cool. Yeah. So I know that like you're into event planning, and so people might be thinking, oh, okay, maybe this show isn't for me. But is it?
Oh, I mean, listen, while we specialize in wedding and events, we talk to creatives most of the time. So we have some business coaches as clients, as Pinterest clients, and we have all sorts of kind of categories that fall under. We have a couple like networking groups that are using Pinterest.
Oh.
So it's fun. Yeah, it's actually really fun for us to get out of our like wedding and event space and chat with these other type of industries and other creatives and give them some tips and tricks. And I think today we'll really touch on all sorts of categories, and it's going to be, we're going to talk about that spring cleaning, profile, revamping, and all those tips and tricks. I think that will be really accurate for everybody.
Yeah.
So let's get to some of the nitty gritty. So we're going to be talking about like Pinterest tune-up. So let us know in the comments if you're like, yeah, my Pinterest needs a tune-up. So like, who all here needs to tune up their Pinterest? Maybe some of the new stuff has come out, or maybe you have been like a lot of us and just, so you started it years ago and you keep throwing stuff on top of it. You're still kind of doing the old things that, you used to work, but you're like, okay, I know I need to get my Pinterest house in order. Let us know down below if that is you. But let's start right from the top. Yeah. So, Elisa, what should we start with first?
I think we should start with profile optimization. Maybe you missed it, or maybe it just needs an update. And then we'll move on to board cleanup and some of those practices we can sweep out of the way, make room for some new stuff. But yeah, profile optimizations, because Gabby has this blog post. That's how we came up with this topic. I just steal other people's ideas to optimize your profile, things you might have overlooked or need to do again. So let's start there.
Ooh, okay. I didn't even know you had looked at some of my content. So this is actually really exciting. I don't have to make anything up. This is actually things that I wrote. So
yeah, I'll make all this stuff up. More.
Yeah. So I would say, okay, if you're just getting started, or like you guys said, if you haven't touched your Pinterest account in a while, few things you want to do. First thing is add your contact information. So a lot of the times, and I think this is true for other social platforms too, but Pinterest specifically, with everything being searchable and it being like a visual search engine, if you can add your contact information very clearly, there is a place to put your website, and also tell people what your name is at some point, right? Tell either your company name or your personal name. Make it easy for people to really engage with you and find out where they can learn more about you. So the profile is really kind of that quick glimpse or snapshot of who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. And if you can just make sure to add the website, there is a specific place in your settings that you will be able to add your website. And then in your title, which I know we'll talk about in a bit, but in your profile name, I guess I should call it, either add your name or add your company name. But how can people get to know a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and who you do it for?
So what is your display name on Pinterest?
Ooh, put me on the spot. Hold on, if I can remember off the top of my head. I think it is our company name, 'Cause We Can Events. And then I have a little divider bar because we'll talk about this in a minute, but I want to add extra keywords in there. And I think it says, you know what, I'm just going to cheat and I'm going to look because I change my keywords sometime. It is Nashville and destination wedding planner. So personally, I like to use a lot of geographic keywords. And because like Jeff said, we just relocated to Nashville. So I am trying to get a little bit more of a presence here in Nashville. So I wanted to keyword myself for this location, but I'm telling basically people who I am. I am part of 'Cause We Can Events. What I do, I am a wedding planner, and I am located in the Nashville area, but we also do destination.
Very cool.
Okay.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That's smart. Especially like she was saying, if you're relocating or you're really trying to grow that core business, I think that is super smart to do that. So I think some people may have not thought that through. I know I didn't.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Because we know that most searches on Pinterest are unbranded, but you also do want your brand name on there. So this is kind of a great way to have everything you ever wanted.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, so we've got that out of the way. Make sure we've got that all set up. So how often, Gabby, do you go in and tweak that? I know so you move, so you're like, I need to go do that now. But do you have it on a certain, I'm going to go in and update this every 6 months, every month, every week? What are your kind of schedule for doing that?
That's a great question, Jeff. I don't know specifically what the exact time frame should be, but I would give it at least 6 months before you start re-keywording yourself. So for example, with Pinterest being a search engine, it's like SEO, right? It takes a lot of time for it to get to know your profile and the keywords you're using and what kind of category your pins are in before it starts saying, oh, I know what this account is about. I'm going to start showing this to that specific industry. So in my case, I always believe if I can at least go 6 months with using very similar search keywords, I can at least categorize myself well in 6 months. Sometimes it could take up to a year. It really depends on how active you are in your profile. So I would say no less than 6 months do you want to change your keywords, but you could do it yearly if you feel the need to do it, or you don't change your keywords in your profile if it's been working really well for you.
So I know a lot of times that profiles would show up in search. Like if you searched, wedding planner, hopefully yours would come up. So are you really being strategic about that? I mean, how important do you think that is? I mean, have you played with different things? I mean, are people finding you how are they finding you, I guess, on Pinterest, and what are you doing to optimize your, profile for that?
Oh, hitting me with these hard questions. No, I love this.
Okay.
Listen, strategy, right? I'm with this. I'm all about strategy and getting to the point of it. So I would say we pop up when we type in Nashville wedding planner. I mean, that's a given, which is really awesome because like I said, we're trying to grow our presence here locally. Destination wedding planner also because we have that in our keywords. But I will say, and I'm sure we'll touch on this later, our follower count on Pinterest has been growing because of the pins we've been doing. Now, not to say that we're not getting new followers from searching in the search bar, right? That are leading them to our profile. But 100%, I can track with the new analytics that Pinterest came out with. I can track how many new followers we're getting based off idea pins. So that's really strong for us. In growing our profile presence, like with the follower count. But for sure, I know we are popping up in search results with these specific location tags.
Gotcha. So, Elisa, we talked about this, with Laura Reich, what is it, 2 weeks ago? So if you want to get kind of a overview of idea pins, which used to be story pins, if you guys are just tuning in and like, what are they talking about? Story pins are now idea pins. So you mentioned, Gabby, that was super important for it's growing your profile. Does that matter? I mean, has Pinterest changed, Elisa? Why don't you take this one? I think Gabby froze a little bit, but has Pinterest changed? Has
I haven't noticed.
Yes, talk about this and why it's important.
Yeah, it definitely has changed. So they announced, I guess it was end of last year, that Pinterest was changing, and they wanted it to change from a place where they connected pinners with ideas to a place where they're connecting pinners with content creators, or creators, we call them. So yeah, it totally has changed. And we've noticed in some of the research that we've done that followers do matter. Like the number of followers you have does matter. Gets you better results, obviously going to get you some more distribution. And it's probably going to become even more important as time goes on, which is very contrary to what we always used to say. But things changed. Yeah, they changed. So I know Gabby was saying she gets a ton of new followers because of idea pins, which makes a lot of sense. And that's another reason why we need to optimize our profiles now more than ever. If you're making idea pins, people are going to your profile from them. You can see that on your stats. And so they need to like what they see if they're going to follow you. Right.
And let's talk about something that it's still, well, I guess it doesn't astound me because I probably did the same thing. But I see a lot of people looking at Tailwind's account, and a lot of people write about Tailwind, and then we look at their stuff and want to share that out. And I go to their profile, and there's not a claimed website. So, Gabby, talk about that a little bit, how important that is, and why should we go to the I mean, I can just put stuff in there. Why do I have to claim my website? What does that even matter?
Oh, yeah. This is one of the things people definitely forget the most. And I would say, the claim website, oh, gosh, I keep freezing. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Well, you're good. You're good.
Don't worry about it.
Okay. So, yeah, the claim website really gives you that domain authority, right? So basically someone sees a photo of yours up on Pinterest, and it automatically, if you've claimed your website and that photo came from that website, you get that credit. So anytime someone goes to your website and they're loving your content, whether it be a recipe, a wedding inspiration, a DIY, and they pin on their own from your website, they can't change that URL. It is coming from your website and it is your content. So it's really important for both recognition, and authority on Pinterest, but also to help against plagiarism. It gets, reassigned to who the owner is of the content. And it is, I will say, it's one of the more techie things you have to do on Pinterest is to claim your website. And listen, I always just go to YouTube and look up how to claim website on whatever website platform you're on, and they walk you through a super easy tutorial. I've never had any issues with that. And Pinterest support always can help troubleshoot those little things for you too, but really, really important to do.
Yeah, so Jen goes, yikes, claimed website is how you get people to work with you. Yes, that's very, very true, Jen. And this is a great question by Brian. He goes, is claiming multiple websites good or bad? What say you, Elisa, Meredith?
I say Pinterest gives you an opportunity to do that, and you should do that. So that way, everything that you create or every pin that you create will be in your created tab, which is good. That's where people are going to land by default. We want this. And also, like Gabby was saying, anytime someone pins from any of those sites, you get that byline, you get that follow button. And if you don't claim your website, they get it. So you want all of that for yourself.
And so I'll just say something really quickly, Brian. I have I have Social Media News Live that I've claimed from my Pinterest site, and also mainly Pinterest tips, and I use that both of them, and I haven't had any issue. But like Elisa was saying, I would rather have credit go to me than somebody else. So on that same topic, because it's kind of in the same area, what about claiming other things like your YouTube account, Instagram? Let's say I'm not going to share my Instagram stuff over there. Why should I go and bother even claiming those things?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. And yes, I've personally claimed my YouTube and my Instagram. Again, ownership there, but you can start tracking in analytics a lot more too when you're claiming your website and other platforms, what content is coming from those other platforms to your Pinterest. But I do sometimes copy over my YouTube content directly over to Pinterest. However, with Instagram, I personally my pins do better if I can bring the photo separately over to Pinterest and redirect. If I want it to go to Instagram, then I can redirect from there instead of copying the same photo, because the issue is it copies the caption, and we know that a Pinterest description has to be very intentional, strategic, and we want to incorporate the keywords that we want to rank for on Pinterest. So it's not always a good fit, in my opinion, to cross those two over.
That is a great point, because I see those too, and I'm like, whoa, they just did that straight from Instagram, because I saw your 30 hashtags, and as we know, hashtags do not work on Pinterest anymore. Yeah, so
that's right.
All right, so is that everything for getting to the profile? Now, somebody asked,
One more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, somebody asked, how do you find this information and how do you change it? So number one, you have to have a business account to go and do this stuff. So make sure that you have a Pinterest business account. And then I think you just go and click on your face or your icon, right? And then drop down and there you can change the settings inside of that. So if you're struggling for that, if it's your face, go click on that. If it's your logo of your business, go click on that. And then you should be able to find that place to be able to change those settings.
Yes, and that is a perfect segue to one of the other items we want to talk about. You are good.
It's like we thought about this
without even knowing it. I know, it's amazing. So I'm calling this a profile image glow up.
Okay, that sounds
because
strange.
I want to sound cool.
Okay.
So are you using your logo as your profile image?
Ooh.
Should you use your face instead? What do we think about that, you guys?
Okay, I love this question because I will say there's probably different camps of ideas here, and that's fine, right? There's never really a true right answer, but here's my thought behind it. I am in the camp of believing that it's important to show your face and have that be a photo of your face. If you are a small business. Now, if you're a larger brand and you have brand recognition with a logo, so, Apple, for example, right? That would make sense. If we saw Steve Jobs' face on there, we're like, is that really an Apple account? What is this? So having a logo for a well-recognized brand makes sense. Now, the reason I think small businesses should focus on having their face, or maybe if there's a couple people on your team, there's a group shot of you guys, is to me, Pinterest, there's not a lot of opportunity to personalize your account. So obviously you have some keywords, we have our name in there, but there's very little imagery about us. And whereas, on Instagram, we tend to show our face a little bit more with behind the scenes or photos or pins or posts. But on Pinterest, I really think it's a great opportunity to kind of show your audience, hey, it's me. I'm not a robot. I'm a real person behind the brand. So that's my opinion. I'm curious, if other people have had success. Otherwise, it's a hard metric to track whether or not your account did better with that photo. But I think it's just a little bonus if you can add your face in there.
So for me, I have the face for Photoshop. But I still use it. I still put it in there. Brian says I go for my logo because I have a face ideal for radio. So yeah, we're the same kind of people.
Not at all.
But so I do think it is something that personalizes you, especially if you have a kind of doing a personal brand. I would, if you are like using your logo across, like let's say Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff, having it, all match. If you're using your face, make sure it goes across the account, because a lot of times people will bounce from your Instagram to your Pinterest and go, oh, that's the same person, or that's the same, I'm going to follow them here too. So just be consistent, I think, with whatever you decide to do. This is a great question. A great comment. I want you to talk about this a little bit, Gabby. Charlene says, I love the video in Gabby's profile. We are definitely going to add one to ours. So explain what that is, because I haven't looked at it, and kind of tell for our podcast listeners what it is and why you decided to do that.
Yeah. So basically, if you go to my Pinterest profile called Cause We Can Events, that's my wedding profile, there is, instead of a background image, which the default for Pinterest was like, I always call it the collage, right? It used to be a collage of all these little images. Well, I chose to upload an MP4 video, and it's basically, I think it's an 8-second loop of one of my favorite weddings that I did. And it shows basically people a little bit behind the scenes of what we're capable of doing when we're planning their wedding. And it was just another way to personalize, we're talking about the profile photo, but this was a really great way to show people what we're capable of. And we know first impressions are super important on social media, and having them land on our profile and just in a fraction of a second make a judgment on whether or not they like what they see. I thought putting a video was something that was going to help our case. And I think we've gotten really good feedback from doing that. And it doesn't have to be long, like 6-second loop,
That's awesome.
Really well done too.
And we have talked about how to make video like with InVideo and with Wave. If you go back to some past episodes, you could use those exact same tools to create that Pinterest profile video, a short one using InVideo or Wave or one of the ones we've talked about. So make sure to do that. Jen also says video helps so much for an analytic boost too. Shows who you are and what you do instantly. Yes, Jen, thank you for that. So, all right. We are about halfway through our time, and I want to make sure that you guys know about this Pinterest toolkit that Elisa seriously, she just put it out. So make sure, there's probably tons of mistakes, so let her know, message her. No, she does a great job with this. Go to bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit, all lowercase, all smashed together, bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit. Very, very cool stuff there. Make sure you check that out. And also...
Jeff.
What? I'm not done. What? Go ahead.
Like a bickering old married couple.
It is. It's like that all the time.
I fight with Jeff so he doesn't have to fight with his wife.
That's right.
So, yeah. Okay, so the toolkit, the cool thing about it is we take the toolkit designs that are made for Pinterest, we put them into Tailwind Create, and Tucker and the Template Factory, which we really need a t-shirt for that band name, will create the Pinterest image, they'll create the Instagram feed image, the Instagram story image, and the Facebook post image based on those templates. So you can grab them if you go to, you go inside Tailwind and you filter by, I think it's style, and then it's toolkit.
Right.
Tailwind
Should
toolkit. Yeah, you'll find it.
Very, very cool. So that's bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit, all lowercase, all smashed together. And also, I want to let you guys know that Gabby has put together something special for you guys to get something too. So go to GabbyPinkerton.com. That's PINKERTON.com, and Pinterest tip sheet. So GabbyPinkerton.com/Pinterest tip sheet. What's all in there, Gabby?
So it's honestly my best practices for getting started and continuing to grow on Pinterest for creatives. So not just for the wedding industry, this is for all sorts of creatives. We talk about optimizing your profile. So reiterating a little bit what we talked about today, and then some tools that I like to use. Obviously, Tailwind is listed in there because we can't function without it. And which is my favorite tips and tricks to get you going.
Yeah, very cool. So let's jump to the next section where we're going to be talking about the board and Pinterest cleanup. And so, man, I've already got some people talking about this, asking questions. Marina asked, what about deleting pins to clean up your account? So let's start with the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Should we delete pins that aren't working? What do you think, Gabby?
Okay. I'm not a deleter. But I am an archiver, and I'm archiver of boards. Now, if I really realize that I'm never going to use it again, I may consider deleting it. Or if I've changed my business entirely or rebranded, whatever that is, and I'm like, okay, that really no longer serves me, I may delete. But I am also just equally as happy to archive that board and leave it be so that no more traffic is going to it and we're not focusing on those keywords anymore. But I'm curious what you guys think, because I've heard people are okay with deleting, and I don't think it's necessarily wrong. It's just, to me, it's so permanent. And I'm more of a, less permanent person.
Yeah, I even archive my Google Plus boards. I mean, I just can't let them go. Just can't let them go. I kept them up.
Such good memories.
And, MySpace, they're still there. I know it's going to come back someday, so I had to leave
it. It will.
Yeah.
Vintage.
Someday everything comes around again. I'm with you, Gabby. I don't delete pins. And this is another thing. If you're feeling like, okay, the pin might have a broken link. Well, you know what? That's all right. Pinterest knows that, and they are going to stop it from distributing. So, don't worry about it. You have a lot of other better things to spend your time on.
Okay, on that note, I want to ask this question. This is really specific, and it's a great question from Christy. She asked, I have tons of pins to delete since I closed my GoDaddy shop. The pins no longer work. So is that a good use of her time, or would you say just don't worry about it, Christy?
You know, I'm a move forward type of person instead of spending a lot of time editing in the back, right? So kind of what Elisa just said, don't go and spend all your time trying to edit those broken links, because I think Pinterest probably already forgot about them, to be honest. Like you said, they stopped distribution. So instead, focus on creating really good quality pins moving forward with correct links. Don't worry about the past. It's done.
Yeah. And like you said, Gabby, if they have a board where everything in it is their dead links, sure, archive that board if you want to be able to look at it and remember again. But otherwise, no, leave them. Just leave them. So,
because I always, this is a tough one, because I'm always like, what about the user experience? What if they go to my board and they find something, they click on it and it's dead? Don't I look like a fool and like they'll be mad at me, and then they'll yell on the interwebs? So, but you guys say it's not worth the time. Just let it go.
Listen, I feel like I would only do it if it's a pin that's getting a lot of attention and I didn't know that it was a broken link, and then all of a sudden I click on it myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's an old link, but this pin is still so popular. Then I would probably try to edit, right? But if it's been crickets on those pins for a very long time, go ahead and move along, right? So I think just take a look at what content, and that's not, it's talking about spring cleanups, not a bad idea to go click on some of your more popular pins to make sure that they're still working. Those sometimes send traffic to old blog posts. Did you make an update to your website, and is that blog post no longer directing properly? Not a bad idea to go take a look at that.
So I want to know in the comments how many people have this. How many people have a pin that they did not create that keeps showing up? Like, Tailwind has one. What is it that comes around every year? Is it a Mother's Day?
Mother's Day.
Does it drive traffic, or does it just show up?
It drives a ton of traffic to our website.
How many people have that? Because I think we all, if we've been on Pinterest for a while, have this pin like, where did this come from? How is it driving traffic? Yeah.
I know, it's somebody else's image that links to Tailwind's website, and we didn't do it.
And it's some random thing that has nothing to do with anything.
It's like a Mother's Day card. And every May, we see this huge spike in traffic that day from this pin that has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
That's amazing, right?
Yeah, so weird.
Free marketing.
Yeah.
I don't think it probably doesn't do anything for us, really. But yeah, I'm not alone, apparently.
Yeah.
And see, I've had that on the other side where I pinned an inspiration photo from someone else, and that pin got a lot of traffic, but none of it sent links to my content. So that particular one I ended up archiving because I was like, it's not sending it. Who knows, right? Like, it could be, if people start clicking around my profile after that, it could bring me more traffic, but I was like, it's not, regardless, it no longer fit with the vision of my business at the time, so I got rid of it. But it could go both ways. It could bring you more followers, more views, but it could also not.
Well, Jen even says, she goes, I have one that is 7 years old and it drives traffic and I hate it. I created a new pin with the same keywords and such to try to overtake it. I know we all have those pins, like we're like, please no one know that was me, because it's horrible and hideous, but it drives traffic. And so we just have to get over it, I guess, and go. Trona says, yes, I have one like that too. It's someone else's image linking to my URL. I know, if you've done it long enough, you get these wackadoo ones that come and you're just like, okay, thanks for the traffic. So
yes. Yeah. So let's talk about board cleanups. And I think the thing that comes to mind first is group boards. What should we do about those? And why are we even asking that question?
Right. Group boards, they're no longer what they used to be. I think their purpose was really to kind of be a little more collaborative in sharing other people's content, but it's become a little bit of dump your content and hope someone else pins it. It's a little confusing, right? We don't have many group boards. We're actually part of one group board with the actual Pinterest creators group, because we're part of that team. At least I think you're in there too. But what's great about that group board is obviously it's working with Pinterest themselves, and we can add idea pins to this group board, and they possibly will get featured down the road, or they're at least in this great similar group of idea pins along the same topic. So that's been kind of fun to see, like, inspiration from other people. Outside of that, yeah, it might not be a bad idea to go through, if you're part of any group boards, and see if it might be time to leave. You know, is it serving you? Are you getting inspired by the content? Is there stuff that you do want to reshare in there? If not, save the space, you know, and leave the group board and move on to creating your own content, which is really what Pinterest wants us to do nowadays.
Yeah. There's a really easy way to see if they're working too. Inside of Tailwind, you can look at board performance and see how well the group boards are doing, and then click through and see how well your pins are doing on that group board. Because like you said, like, we marketers use them to kind of get more people to share our stuff, but that's not why Pinterest built them. They built them for what you said, like the creator team is using them for actual collaboration and like an active community. So some people still swear they get traffic from being in group boards, but I encourage you to check it out for sure.
Yeah, so Karen asked this question. So, and I think she goes, what if you create the board? And I think you kind of answered that. But Gabby, do you use it? Do you use it for Anderson? I hit the wrong button. But do you use it for like collaboration with clients? Like when you're planning a wedding, do you have like an idea? Is it like a secret board that you collaborate with? Yeah, I figured a lot of wedding planners and photographers do that as well.
Yeah, and this is a question I get a lot from wedding pros and creators, like you said, is do I have to optimize that board? And a lot of the times it's a secret board. We only give access to the clients and maybe other partners on the team, like a florist and, you know, another creative person. So my answer to that is no, I don't optimize that board, because a lot of the times I am picking photos from that are not mine, right? I'm just putting together a vision, and I need to outsource from other accounts. So I don't necessarily want to drive traffic to that group board. And it's secret, by the way. So it's not going to show up in search results either. So I don't spend time optimizing it, but we do use them. And then after the wedding is done, or after the creative project is done, we archive it. Again, I don't delete because I'm too scared to make that permanent decision.
You might want it again.
Yeah, exactly. What if and it's true, what if that design comes up again and I'm like, hey, I actually have this ready to go? But yeah, to answer your question, Jeff, we do definitely use them in our industry.
I really think realtors should be using them too. Like, I have these 10 homes I want you to look at. Or designers, I have these 7 sofas to choose from, and here's another section with some paint colors. There's just a lot you can do with group boards, but it's not not for getting more traffic.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So as we move on to the next spot, I wanted to do some shout outs. This is from our friend Ian Manderson Bay, who says, what have I missed? Has Jeff been nice to Lisa? Has he mispronounced anyone's name yet? No, Ian, I have not. So anyway.
Neither one. He hasn't been nice and he hasn't mispronounced.
Right. So I did it. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I will continue to do that, but it just is what happens when you join us live. So let's go on to some more. So we talked about. So how often, Gabby, do you create new boards? I mean, are you constantly rotating as you come up with new content and trying out new boards, or do you have like old standards that you continually add to? What's your philosophy of creating new boards when you're kind of looking at your spring cleaning of your account?
Ooh, that's a great question, because I was just having this conversation with my team today. We manage a lot of other wedding pros Pinterest accounts, and we have quarterly strategy meetings with them. And on those quarterly meetings, we like to evaluate, okay, here's what's coming up that's going to be a trend on Pinterest. Let's create a board, and it's relevant to your content. Let's try to make sure we add to it. But sometimes that could be, let's remove this board. So basically quarterly would be my answer for this on how I go in and take a look at these boards. Am I wanting to archive something? Am I wanting to create something new? Sometimes there's no change, but I'm at least taking a look at what we have and doing that little quarterly spring cleaning, process and seeing what needs to happen in terms of our boards. to better our profile.
Yeah. So I think you mentioned that the boards you create really are dependent not only on the trends coming up, but the content that you're planning to create. Is that right?
Yes. And so we base our blog content off of Pinterest trends because we found that with Google and with Pinterest trends, I mean, we can hit so many awesome keywords. Literally just going to trends.pinterest.com is one of my favorite resources. And we want to blog in advance so that when that trend comes around, then our blog is there. It's ready. It's keyworded on Google. We have pins ready to create. We have idea pins ready to launch. So it helps us, especially if you're someone who struggles with content creation, like calendar or planning out your content creation. Looking at Pinterest trends has been a game changer for us. Because we can totally just plan out our whole year just by doing some research on Pinterest trends. So yeah, Elisa, to answer your question, we will create some boards, and a lot of those boards are cyclical. So if we're talking about, let's say, fall weddings is one of the ones that we're thinking about for Q3 coming up. We know that fall weddings is going to be forever a popular trend every, Q3. So we want to make sure that board is re-optimized. We've maybe taken a look inside and see what our most popular pins are in there. Can we create more content like that, and so on and so on. So yes, we do look at creating boards for upcoming new content.
So real quick, there's a couple of questions here. Linda asks, what about those updating names of boards? So I know you go in and you look at those. Do you like to do that, or is that like scary? I mean, you mentioned using trends. Do you use the trends to inform what you're going to update your boards to, or how do you go about, changing those?
Yeah, I don't change them unless I have to, or unless I've maybe found a keyword that I think is better suited. I like to get very specific with my board name. So instead of just calling it wedding inspiration, I will call it modern beach wedding inspiration, right? Like I will get specific. Because that's how, our industry really does well if we can get a little more specific. And I think for a lot of industries on Pinterest, that can be helpful to find, like if you put yourself in the user's shoes, when you're typing something on Pinterest, and you can be very specific or you can be very broad. I like to target the very specific group that knows exactly that when they find my content, they're like, that is exactly what I was looking for. So yes, I update my board names if I come up with something better than what it was. But if you are just in the process of updating your profile in general, go ahead and update your board names. Are they specific? Are they too broad? Can they be improved in any way? And go ahead and change them. And once they're set, try to leave them again for that 6-month period so that Pinterest can take its time to keyword your, or analyze and re-keyword your account properly before changing them again.
All right. Well, we've got a very specific question. I think it's great. So I'm going to pull this one up. So this is Laura. Oh, Laura. She was on our show 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So she goes, she's trying to get some insider information. So here we go. So here
I'll share.
Do you create the board a certain number of days, months, or in advance? Like if we know that Q3 is fall weddings, would you create that now and leave it until the pins are ready, or create later to have pins ready right when it's created? That's a Pinterest Pros question right there. Thanks, Laura.
Oh, yeah.
Bringing it in hot, Laura. I love it. Yes, we will create now and make it secret because we want to make sure we have enough pins ready to pin. So little tip for blogging here. We blog anywhere from 30 to 60 days before a Pinterest trend hits its peak. And I hope that wasn't too meta. But basically, if September 1st is the peak for fall weddings, we make sure we are blogging, on average 45 days before that trend. So, end July, early August. And so therefore, around that time, we will make sure that our boards are ready to go. The description is in there, the title is in there. And then when our blog post goes live, we will start trickling those pins. We'll mark it as no longer secret, so it'll be public to view. And we'll start trickling our pins using Tailwind in there, obviously. And then people do have content to look at. And that's my biggest thing is I don't ever want someone to land on a board and there's one pin in there because they're going to be like, man, I was here to look for some really good fall inspiration, and there's only one pin. So yeah, Laura, I want to make sure there's enough content in there before it goes public.
So right there is worth the price of admission, folks. That was a power Pinterest tip. And Laura says, awesome. Yes, I love secret boards waiting in the background.
Yes.
Ready to go. Thanks, y'all. Thank you, Laura, for that great question. So let's move on because we are running out of time. Let's talk about some best practices. Elisa,
well, wait a minute.
No, we got to move because she's got a hard stop that if you would have been at the pre-show, we would have discussed this. But she's got a hard stop, so we
Wait, Brett, this is one I really want to know.
Okay, I'll let you have one.
We've halfway covered it. Thank you, very kind. So we talked about board names. You mentioned having the descriptions in there ready to go for your new boards. How important do you think descriptions are to your success on Pinterest? Like board descriptions.
Okay, board descriptions are always forgotten. They're the little black sheep of the group. They and you know why? It's because I did a test. I tried to create a board on the desktop version by using the little plus sign in the profile, and Pinterest pops up with the place to put the title of your board and whether or not you want to make it secret, but nowhere does it say board description. And
yes, it drives me crazy.
Still. Yes. And so it's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault other than we don't know it exists, right? So if you're like tuning into this, go back on all your created boards, and if you click the little pencil and you can edit that board, you will now see a box that gives you the description. And listen, it is, I say anywhere that Pinterest gives you a place to add text is a place that you should always optimize and make sure you are adding some keywords in there. And I do not mean keyword stuffing, which would be, doing keyword, comma, keyword, comma. I mean, make it conversational. Tell your audience what they can expect to find in this board and give them, of course, keywords within those sentences that are going to be highly searched. So for example, in our fall wedding board, we want to make sure, I always start to say something like, hey, adventurous wedding couples, comma, like I'm talking to them. I'll say, in this board, you will find some of our favorite fall wedding ideas from, moody flower garlands to long reception table under fairy lights. I don't know, I'm just making this up at the top of my head, but I'm trying to add keywords within my sentences to make sure it hits, gets Pinterest's attention. But yes, Elisa, oh my gosh, board descriptions are always forgotten and ever, ever so important.
What about this question? Do you include tags in board descriptions or Pinterest doesn't look anymore? That's a great...
tags like hashtags?
I'm not sure. I think that's what she means, but I think we...
Okay, yeah.
No more hashtags, right?
No longer using hashtags. And I don't think you can tag like a tap per tag in a board description. You can do that on an idea pin. You select the tags at the end of your idea pin, but not in a board description. So yeah, I would really just focus on adding keywords within your sentences as a way to get more quote unquote tags in there.
Yeah, so they don't work anymore. So yeah, no more hashtags. So that was what she was asking. So let's go into best practices. Lisa, I know you have some stuff you want to cover. You have a short amount of time. So let's go.
We do. So
I'm
let's
being nice to you because I'm getting yelled at for not being nice again. Laura told me to be nice.
Oh, good. Thanks, Laura. Okay. So things we can stop doing, things we need to start doing. It's always a good idea to kind of make sure we're up to date. And that's the question I get. I don't know about you, Gabby, or you, Jeff. I always get the question, what should we stop doing on Pinterest? Isn't it nice when there's less we have to do? But the first one, alas, is, are you using all of the available formats, which might mean doing more, or are you just doing the same thing you've always done and expecting the same results, which, by the way, you probably won't get?
Right. And isn't that the definition of insanity? And expecting the same result? I mean,
right.
Okay, anytime a platform gives us a new feature, I'm like, I'm going to try it. I don't care if it doesn't look good my first attempt, but I'm going to try it because I really think we get rewarded, right, for trying new features on social platforms. So Pinterest is the same. As soon as they launched Idea Pins, which was formerly called Story Pins, we jumped on that bandwagon. And we tried it, and it has been actually really beneficial. And I think obviously the hesitation for a lot of people is that they don't link to a URL, but we have found, like I mentioned earlier, that it has helped our follower count, and therefore the more followers we have, the more those people will see our content pop up in their home feed. So I want that. I want the exposure. So yes, we try idea pins, and then within idea pins, they started doing mentions. Listen, I could talk about mentions all day long, because in the wedding industry, one of the big things is that we want to make sure we're crediting the team that we worked with on certain projects and weddings. So for us, for us in the wedding industry, that was a game changer. And we're finally able to mention other accounts that were part of this project, and they get a notification that they were tagged or mentioned in an idea pin. And that has been huge for us. So yes, constantly using the new features when they come out, the music, the design in app has been something we've been doing. And then of course, we want to continue doing our Tailwind Create pins. We're constantly putting about 2 to 4 regular pins out per day. I think this is where one of the things of less is more when it comes to regular pins. I think once upon a time, remember, we were doing like 50 to 100 pins a day, which was like insane. So really happy about the reduction in regular pins.
Well, Jen brings up a good point, saying that, and those tags people that you were talking about, the tags and idea pins, almost always share and spread your info. So yes, that is a great point. Yes.
You know what? I keep tagging Michaels in my painting videos and hoping that they're really going to send me some free.
You never know. They may share it.
I'm going to try it.
I did it with Waffle House one time, and they got all over that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wish I got free waffles, but that didn't happen.
Dang.
I know, but it was still kind of cool. So we are running towards the end. Let's ask one more question. Let's ask that the related question you had there, Elisa, because I think that's about the new direction. So why don't you go ahead and ask that?
Okay, so just the other day, I was in a Facebook group, and I saw someone say, "What is this about idea pins? Pinterest has always said it's not social media, it's a search and discovery engine. Why? Well, I couldn't think of a really kind way to say it, but they changed their minds. Like we do. Like, they change their direction. Businesses have to do that sometimes, and they have been real clear that this is a big change, right? It's not just about seeing a pin going to a site. They really want to keep it on the platform, which frankly all the platforms want to do. That's right. Yeah.
So Gabby, you mentioned you jumped on idea pins. So has this whole thing changed your strategy, that they are wanting to keep people on the platform, which makes it honestly a little bit harder for us to get people to our content? We're creating these pins, and I'm like, give us the traffic, but it's there's a little bit more roadblocks in the way of the way it used to be. So how has your strategy changed because of that?
Yeah, I was very stubborn at first, and I was like, I'm not going to do it. But I get it. They're a business, and they, need to get eyeballs on ads, and they need us. And also, listen, I don't want to keep seeing the old content over and over. Like, I need fresh ideas for my wedding business. So I'm here for it. And yes, to answer your question, Jeff, we basically incorporated more idea pins. We know the importance of it. So we do one idea pin per week to keep things fresh and updated on the platform. And then we try to really add video, like all platforms. I mean, listen, TikTok, Instagram Reels, everybody wants video, and we're really trying to make an effort to show video. And for wedding pros and creatives, something that I found that works really well is time lapses of you doing your project.
That's a good idea.
Of whether that be your recipe, whether that be setting up a wedding, or whether that be your DIY craft. A time lapse is so easy to put on a little tripod, do your thing. Film in vertical if you can, and then put that as an idea pin and put that on Pinterest. And I found that works really well. And you can also just be doing your day-to-day stuff and still creating content. And so, yes, it requires more content creation now, but we're also able to repurpose some content. So I even tried downloading some of my Instagram Reels and TikToks and re-adding that to the Pinterest platform. Sometimes it works really well, sometimes it doesn't, depending on the keywords I use and depending on whether or not my audience wanted to see that. But I would think if it's, you know, worth a shot to try to repurpose your content if you're worried about feeling like you have to content create all the time.
Yeah. And on that note, talking about those time lapses and putting those on Pinterest, and they worked really well. Also use, if you can, remember it's only 60 seconds, but using those on YouTube Shorts, because remember, YouTube is another search engine and visual search engine just like Pinterest is. So
can you put the vertical videos on Shorts? Do those look good?
You have to.
You have to. That's what they work. That's why you have to have them. They can only be 60 seconds long, and you need to put hashtag shorts in the title. And that way it goes on your short shelf on YouTube. So it's a great way to kind of get two birds with one of those stones with the two biggest, I think, powerful search engines, visual search engines that are out there. So I would definitely do that. So we are at the end of the time because Gabby has been kind enough to stick with us and giving us all the information. Make sure you guys go to GabbyPinkerton.com/Pinterest tip sheet. I'm glad I said that correctly.
That's a tongue twister.
GabbyPinkerton.com/Pinterest tip sheet and get her information. She is amazing, as you can tell from the show today. We got to get her back on because this is just the tip of the Gabby Pinkerton knowledge iceberg that we want to dive into again.
Let's do a live show in Nashville, can we?
That would be fun. I'm ready to get out. Yeah.
Rooftop pool, right?
Yes.
That would be so fun.
And do not forget Elisa's amazing Pinterest toolkit at bit.ly/TW Pinterest toolkit, all lowercase, all smashed together. It's amazing. Elisa, I'll let you have the final word.
You know, every week you do, and every week I'm like, what am I going to say? Yeah, but I challenge you to do this board cleanup, do this profile optimization this week, and watch how it works for you. I'm going to do it this week for Tailwinds because I have not, I've been really neglectful of all these things, which is kind of why we wanted to have the show. Now, so keep me accountable, you guys. Come back, tell me how you did, ask me if I did it.
Yep. And with that,
Gabby.
we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye now.
Thanks, guys.